good afternoon, everybody. We are live inside the Houston Fieldhouse on the campus of Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute in Troy, New York, in the heart of the Capital Region. It's time once again for RPI Engineers Hockey here on ESPN+. This afternoon, it may only be a scrimmage at the beginning of the season, but the faithful in red and white do not seem to care one bit. They are out in full force for the first time since the end of the 2019-20 season to root on their Engineers against the Colgate Raiders. Alongside the coach, Dan Pridgen, I'm Dan Ball. Welcome once again to RPI Engineers Hockey here on ESPN+. Well, a couple of games this weekend for the Engineers to dip their toe in the water, so to speak, against the Raiders tomorrow against the University of Toronto. When you look at an opportunity like this against another ECAC hockey opponent, what are you trying to accomplish in a scrimmage like this today?
Well, I think it's just mostly guys getting out on the ice, and you know, they've been practicing against each other for a couple of weeks now, and just to have a different colored jersey that you get to compete against. And I think it's a time where let's see what the chemistry looks like with your lines and your lineup. Colgate's got 5 lines dressed, 8D, and I was just wondering if there was going to be enough room on their visitors' bench over there.
Well, we already have a couple of maroon sweaters that are standing next to the coaching staff on the back of the bench, but we'll meet a number of those players as we move through. Let's meet the starters for both sides, beginning with the Colgate Raiders that are moving from left to right across your screens. It's set into the corner by Brendan Booty. They begin with Carter Geilander, the junior goaltender, in net. Defenders Reed Irwin and Tommy Bergslin in the starting line. Their second line of Alex DiPaolo centering Arnaud Vachon and Matt Verboon. On the other side for the RPI Engineers, they begin their season with Jack Watson in net, the sophomore out of Toronto, Ontario. Defenders Laurie Surtee and Kyle Halbauer, recently named captain of this Engineers program, and their second line as well of Booty between Maschie and Heidemann. Chipped over the blue line, and the Engineers will begin their offensive pursuit, but it's broken up at the line by Belpedio. Nick Strom, making his Engineers debut, steps up at the red line. He's able to deflect the puck away, and now a loose puck picked up just near the blue line, but instead Ethan Manderville and the Raiders will take control. We're just underway here at the Houston Fieldhouse. No score in a battle between ECAC hockey teams. The Raiders won the season series and swept the season series last season against the Engineers with 2 wins, a 5-2 win at home, and then a 3-2 win here at the Houston Fieldhouse. Picked up off the end boards, but a near miss, and it's turned back the other way by Nick Anderson on defense for the Raiders. Carried over the line and into the zone, and it's behind the goal now as Watson goes from his left to his right to watch the preceding play. Sent on goal from the point, the shot coming from Pearson Brandon, captain of this Raiders team, and it's held on to by Watson. A few pleasantries being exchanged in front of the Engineers net as the season begins with a couple hays and hellos to begin the year.
Yes, I think Lee's establishing that real estate in front of the net, meaning that you're not going to be challenged. Well, you will be challenged if you try to enter.
Puck is down, face-off controlled by the Raiders, chipped in the corner, it's controlled once more. Levi Glassman in that corner, but now near side, the Engineers will try to begin their breakout. Ripped along the boards by Jack Agnew, and the breakout gets as far as center. Chip pass coming into the zone, a 2-on-2, centering feed, and it's knocked just wide of the cage. Good opportunity in front of the net there. TJ Walsh was on the receiving end of that one, now center line, that one's blocked. Skitters into the far side corner, looking for a backhand centering feed. Jacob Lee was trying to find Walsh in front or someone there, but Henry Schreifel is the beneficiary at center, and it's chipped in deep.
Yeah, RPI just couldn't connect on that. You had a guy going for the net, and he just couldn't get a stick on it.
Attempting to chip it through center there was Simon LaBelle. He couldn't get it past the defense of the Engineers. RPI comes into this season after a 2021-22 campaign with a record of 18, 23, and 3. Their wins the most since the 2012-13 campaign, the most under head coach Dave Smith, who enters season number 6, a record of 51, 88, and 12 in his time here in Troy. Near side boards they battle. It's knocked loose for Max Smolinski, the son of Brian Smolinski, who's making his debut with the Engineers. Smolinski, a veteran of over 1,000 NHL games, and of course his son looking to pursue a career somewhere near there. Sent along the far side boards, rather, chipped into the corner as the Raiders will begin their change. Far side boards, Verboon sends it near side now for Bergslin. He catches now below the goal. Here goes Berglund once more, looks back to the top of the point, a shot, and a save made by Watson. Far side, Reed Irwin, who sends it back to his D partner once more. The 2 starters for the Raiders back on the ice on the back end. sent all the way back to the point, and he was looking for a man there, Bobby Metz, but he was quick to get back on the ice. Wasn't quite in position as he had hoped. Here comes DePaulo once more. Finds a man on the far side. A wrist shot coming, and the shot by Arnaud Vachon is turned aside by Watson.
Of course, Dave Smith counterpart across the ice, Don Vaughn. He's in his 30th season behind the bench for the Gate. And they had a strong finish last year. They ended up going to the ECAC semifinals after I think they beat Yale. And then they went into Cornell and beat Cornell. No small feat, and they ended up losing in the semifinal game 3-1 to Quinnipiac.
Play is offsides, and you know, this Raiders team, they've had a lot of success under Don Vaughn, and you have to have a decent amount of success to get to your 30th year coaching. They had made it past the first round in that 2019-20 season before the rest of the ECAC tournament was canceled due to COVID, but the last time they had made it that far did the Raiders was 2017-18, where they beat this RPI Engineers program in order to get to the second round. Pulling it off the boards there for the moment was John Beaton. It's played behind the net now. One-on-one they battle.
And if I'm not mistaken, that game went to three games. That series went to 3 games.
A lot of good hockey between these two programs. Here is Manderville stepping up as Young was trying to center. A shot deflected on goal. Watson able to make that save. And it's turned back the other way by Nick Strom, who will hit the brakes. The two names you'll hear a lot in this one, wearing 12 and 21 respectively, the Young brothers. Tell you more about them in a moment. It's skitters from right to left across the offensive end. Stepping up on the play there was Mason Klee. Now a backhand try. That one's deflected in front of the cage. A shot deflects just wide. Rolled past the left post and the left leg of Geilander. Stepping in off the bench there is Nick Ardenaz, who's making his career debut today. No score. We're 5 minutes into the first period. RPI Engineers Colgate Raiders in a scrimmage to begin the 2022-23 campaign as a backhand pass looking from McIsaac was deflected. Skated over the line and into the near side corner. The first one there, Austin Heidemann. Ardenaz, who we just mentioned, he was an assistant captain with the West Kelowna Warriors last season. 134 total games played over 3 years. With a very good program as it's chipped over the line by Heidemann and all the way into the corner. Berkland wraps for Irwin. A battle ensues on the far side, but it's kept in at the line. Looking for a chance. A backdoor feed, and it goes off the skate and just wide. An opportunity in front of the cage for Ryan Massey, but it just wouldn't go. Couldn't connect on the pass in front.
Yeah, good idea by Booty. Try to get that puck, but he just put it behind him into the skates instead of out in front. Couldn't get a stick on it. I might have shot that one myself.
Yeah, I can. You know, you have to get into that comfort at a certain point. Booty, it's a good idea, and if he was able to connect, it would have been probably a wide open side, but hard to find that kind of room in the center of the slot. But regardless, it's early, and you have to imagine those chances will start to materialize a little bit more as a turnover forced at center, carried one-on-one, will send in harmlessly on Geilander. The chance coming there from Sutter Mazzotti, 6'6", 240 pounds, the freshman out of Michigan. You won't miss him on the ice very often.
No, he's got some good size to him, and he gets around the ice pretty good too.
Face off to the right of Geilander, who last season in 16 games, a record of 7-8. 2.76 goals against average, .908 save percentage. Watson on the other side for the Engineers, the sophomore coming into this year, started 19 games, a record of 9-9, a goals against average, .239. He was outstanding. Established himself as a starter on this team and will undoubtedly start a number of games this year as it's sprayed into the near side corner. Here is Smolinski hitting the brakes. Henry Schreifel's back to help him out as the defense pairing there, Smolinski and Dylan Davies. The junior out of Traverse City. Now it's skated over the line by LaBelle, far side. 7-on-7 they rush into the corner, sent back to the point. LaBelle once more, but a good play there by Smolinski stepping up on the far side boards. He's able to force it over the blue line. Sprayed into the corner once more. Watson will leave it for Smolinski as the Raiders go for a change. Both teams coming in looking to improve on their offense this season. The Engineers, the 37th ranked offense in the nation. Not much better. The Raiders at number 33 as Jack Brackett comes over the center line looking for a trailer. Fired towards the cage, save, rebound, put just wide. Right in front of the net, Alti Nikkanen looking for the first goal of this campaign. Instead, it's the Raiders who are able to take it over the line, sprayed up and over the boards. And into the bench for the Engineers. We'll have a stoppage of play. 12-11 remaining in the opening period. No score. Engineers and the Raiders on ESPN+.
Not really a lot of opportunities so far. Most of it being played in the neutral zone.
Jacob Lee will lean in for the draw. Took roughly 80 face-offs last year, but it's going to be one of the guys that Dave Smith relies upon. Both the Engineers and the Raiders losing at least 3 of their top centermen in terms of face-offs taken last year, so forming a bit of a new identity. And Dan Fridgen and I will talk a little bit more about identity and culture, 2 very important things to this Engineers program heading into a year where they had 8 of their top 10 scorers depart the program. Sent back to the point. Controlled by Brandon, knocked over the line. Good defensive play there on offense by McIsaac. Now here is Alex Young. Tried to fend off a defender, but it's knocked loose, and the Engineers will spray it into their offensive end. Reversing there is Anderson. It's Brandon once more, named one of the captains on this Raiders team, a junior out of Irvington, New York. A wrist shot coming there. Save made by Watson on the chance in transition. Booty had it for the moment, but he lost it over the blue line. Here is Young spraying it off the boards. Finds Ross Mitten, who carries below the goal. Mitten defended by Arden as it's sent back to the point. Belpedio, good spin move now. Another nice move, but a block there as Booty was just trying to find a little bit of balance there, but he ends up blocking the shot. Kept in at the line, shot in on Watson. He makes the shoulder save. Couple good chances there. You see the speed at the top end of this offense for the Raiders, Dan Fridgen. That's going to be a line at the top of this team as the puck goes for icing against the Engineers. This top line and the talent that Colton and Alex Young have is going to be a problem for a lot of teams this year.
Yeah, and they play real well together. Of course, they're brothers, and they just have that chemistry that brothers have. And they know where each other's going to be, and they've got a lot of no-look passes, and they've got some offense to them as well. You give them an opportunity, they'll bury it.
Mitten sends through the crease and wide. Stepping in at the point is Irwin on the far side. No score in this one at the Houston Fieldhouse, sent towards the net from the point. Shot coming from Tommy Bergslin. Watson able to corral that one. Just a quick note on those 2 brothers. Alex Young, the junior. Colton Young, the senior. So Alex 21, Colton 12 if you're looking in your programs at home. Both out of Calgary in the Canmore Eagles program in the AJHL. Only one carries an affiliation with an NHL team. That is the younger of the 2, Alex, who was drafted in the 7th round by the San Jose Sharks. Coming back in 2019 as Smolitsky wheels behind the cage. Sent to the line and in by Dylan Davies. Geilander can't corral. It's now into the corner. John Evans sends back to Davies, who activates from the point. Now a battle ensues in the corner. Davies wins it. Takes it from left to right, back to the point. Smolinski. Schreifel's covering the point. A wrist shot goes wide. Rebound off the end boards, controlled once more. The Engineers looking to set up their offense for one of the first times today. Davies sends harmlessly behind the cage. Active bounce off the end boards, and that allows the Raiders to start their breakout and carrying it into the zone. Owen Newhart, he was the one who was tracking it, rather, for the Raiders. Near side once more, Schreifels tried to center a feed over to Evans, but instead he took a big hit in front of the Engineers' boards.
Yeah, that was Levi Glaceman putting the body on him.
Here's Brackett the other way over the center line and in. He'll go 1v3, allowing the rest of his Engineers to change. We're over 10 minutes gone by here in the first period. No score is stepping up is Surtee. He sends it off the far side boards. Top of the offensive end, protecting is John Beaton, but he turns the puck over, and now a one-on-one back the other way with speed. Carried in by LaBelle. He cuts toward the cage, and he's knocked to the ice. A good defensive play there. Nothing over the line, just using body to body and stripping a man from the puck.
Yeah, he made a real good play. Didn't allow him to cut to the net, which the Colgate player wanted to do.
Simon LaBelle, the freshman out of Ottawa, was the one with the burst of speed, but fantastic job moving backwards in order to separate him from the puck. Anyways, Girassurti sending it off the boards in front of the Colgate Raiders bench. He's unable to connect with a member of the red and white, and now the Raiders will take it over the line. LaBelle once more will send it backhand back behind the cage. Here is Mason Klee on his offhand, beginning the breakout, sends a pass through center, and now it's TJ Walsh. Walsh sends toward the cage and wide. All three Engineers behind the net, now sent back to the point. Klee shot on goal, and a save made by Geilander. We'll step aside with 8 minutes and 14 seconds remaining in the first period. No score between the Engineers and the Colgate Raiders from the Houston Fieldhouse. You're watching RPI Engineers Hockey on ESPN+.
RPI Hockey is back. Contact the Houston Fieldhouse box office at 518-276-6262 or box office at rpi.edu to watch your Engineers in action this season.
For the love of the game, the team, or for two, Recovery Sports Grill. At Recovery Sports Grill, you'll always have courtside seats to exciting live sports coverage. And for outstanding loyalty perks, join our Hall of Fame, Recovery Sports Grill, serving up smiles every season.
Welcome back to the Houston Fieldhouse inside the broadcast booth alongside the coach Dan Fridge and Dan Ball joining you. No score here in the first period of the first game of the 2022-23 season. The RPI Engineers taking on the Colgate Raiders, a game that does not count for ECAC hockey purposes, but still gives both teams a taste of one another heading into a new campaign. The Engineers picked to finish sixth in this year's preseason coaches poll. The Raiders just one spot ahead of them, sitting at 5th in the preseason poll. So both teams with good odds to at least get a home game at some point in the ECAC hockey playoffs, but we're so early that it's nearly impossible to tell. Playing the offensive zone for the Engineers here as we tick towards 8 minutes to go. A shot on net turned aside by Carter Geilander, who's been solid. Both goaltenders very solid in the early going. Here is Mashi battling in the corner. It's sent around the boards by Anthony Stark. You have to imagine can't really go by Tony Stark that much anymore. He goes by the full name instead. Anyway, sprayed into the zone, and it's carried 1-on-2. A big hit there. Defending that play was Nick Strom. He took the brunt of it from Alex DePaulo. Puck is loose behind the cage, sent back to the point, but kept in at the line. Bobby Metz shoots it intentionally wide. Stepping in is Anderson at the left point. He's a righty playing the left side. Anderson tries to cut to the net, now hits the brakes. Looks back to the point, was trying to find his man, Matt Verboon. I think it might have instead had been better if it went to Bobby Metz at the point, but Verboon didn't really feel the pressure. He went for the one-timer anyways. Into the far side corner, Nick Ardenaz fresh off the bench. The Engineers will get it going through center, and it's sent for Mazzotti on the left side. Mazzotti centers, and a one-on-one. That's going to draw a penalty on the side of the Raiders. To the bench goes Watson for the extra attacker, and Ardenaz will take the opportunity to set up the 6-on-5 extra attacker offense. Good pressure applied there by the Engineers as one of their better looks, at least on offense to this point. Ardenaz finds a man on the side. He was looking for Mazzotti, but instead it's touched up by the Raiders, and a hooking call going against Colgate. We'll see the Engineers power play for the first time today.
And it's always interesting, the first power play opportunity. From a PK perspective, it's pretty simple. You know, it's defense is defense. I don't think neither team has seen what the other one can bring on the power play or on the penalty kill. So this is going to be a reactive type of opportunity.
Well, our first entry on the scorecard of any form goes against defender Liam Watson-Braun, who will sit for 2 for hooking. Power play for the Engineers last season, 27 of 133. Ranked 29th in the country. Here is the first-year Smolinski into the near side corner. Wrapped all the way around, back up top for Jack Agnew. Agnew steps in, sends back to the point, kept in by Walsh nicely. Now Agnew once more. Below the goal and back to the left side for Smolinski, who sends below once more, tries to stuff it in front. No lane to the net there. Smolinski to the point, Walsh can't corral, now a race for the puck. It's brought in by Young, partial break, Young to the net, and he's knocked down. Didn't get a full shot away as Jack Agnew was the one back checking on that one. A nice play on defense after the puck could not sit for TJ Walsh.
That could have been a slash, but it went uncalled. I think right at the last second he kind of caught him across, but
I think there's definitely an argument to be made on either side. You could probably say a slash if you're Don Vaughn, and if you're Dave Smith, you're saying, oh, that's just a good physical play in front of the net.
Yep, no question.
Carried over the line and into the zone. Here is Booty, who sends to the near side corner for John Beaton. So the assumed top power play unit on the ice here for the Engineers is battled for by Mashi. Sent to the point, but Lori Surti unable to corral that one, and the junior defender out of Espoo, Finland will have to regroup. 15 seconds remaining on the man advantage for the Engineers. It's sent to the far side boards, and instead the Raiders will take a moment to skate it out and in. Ryan McGuire with a bit of speed, met by 3 members of the Engineers who will begin their breakout. Out of the box is Watson Braun. The Engineers 0 for 1 on the man advantage. Still no score with 4 minutes 22 seconds remaining in the first period. The penalty kill last year for the Raiders, also fairly solid, clicking at 83.7%, 118 of 141. Sent to the far side for Strong, he scores! Nick Strom, the sophomore defenseman and transfer from Western Michigan, makes his debut, a special one for the Engineers. A seeing eye shot opens the scoring for RPI.
Well, I think he just tried to get that puck to the net. There was a lot of traffic in front of Geilander, and I don't think he saw it at all. I think he had 2 guys in front of him. He went down in his butterfly, and it caught the upper portion of the net just above his blocker.
Well, the Engineers opened the scoring just about a minute after their first power play had expired. I am not the one that was the Division I coach out of the 2 of us, Coach, but I can imagine that shooting the puck from anywhere at the beginning of the year, getting a goaltender kind of warm, is something that you expect from a group this early on.
Yeah, no question. And that one was, you don't like your point guys shooting real high because you've got guys in front of the net trying to deflect the puck. But that was a real good shot because he's going to go down in the butterfly, so you aim for the upper portion of the net. You just put it into space, and he happened to luck out on that one and got himself the first goal of the season.
Brackett was in on the offense after a play by Nick Ardenaz sprung the puck loose, but instead it's brought back the other way, backhanded and deep by Bobby Metz on defense for the Raiders. 3:15 to go here in the opening period, 1-0 Engineers. Nick Strom, a transfer from Western Michigan like we mentioned, but did not skate in a game last year as it's sent to the far corner, but icing is wiped out. Along the near side board, stepping in is Davies. The puck springs loose in the offensive end, but it's knifed through by Belpidio. Strom was the captain of the Fargo Force the season before in the USHL. 13 points in 40 games for him. Didn't quite find a fit in Michigan, now looking to find one in New York's Capital Region as the centering feed is knocked loose. Now a break the other way for the Engineers. Smolinski over the line will try to send it in deep. The puck was knifed down in front of the cage, but it springs loose and a shot coming, a save made. James McIsaac, the junior out of Winnipeg, the one who was the beneficiary, but Geilander stands tall to keep the deficit at 1.
Yeah, he made a good play there. He didn't have much time to get that puck off, so it was a quick release. He didn't handle it. He just let it hit the ice, and quick snapshot. Geilander there in his butterfly to absorb that puck.
Face off one to the corner by the Raiders, but the Engineers able to forecheck and find the puck. A backhand feed coming, and it's sent to the corner. Big hit there on the far side as teams haven't shied away from the physical play to this point. As 2-on-2 they battle trying to find possession. Taken to the line and out. Now Ross Mitten will try to get past. He's only as far as Lori Surti, who was the one who was able to knock that puck free. Booty takes it over the line on the near side, tries to chip to the corner, but it's blocked by the defense of the Raiders, who are really trying to stand up, if not at the line, then directly following it. A couple of nice plays to knock down clearing attempts. Below the goal now, back to the point for Bergslund, stepping in and shooting, deflected just wide. A change in defense brought Levi Glasman back onto the ice. He was the one who took that shot that was deflected. Now here's Irwin, a shot deflected. Save made by Watson. The rebound pops up in the air and goes into the far corner. Shooting low there, Reed Irwin, like Dan Fridgen just mentioned, a good way to try to get traffic and subsequent chaos in front of the net. Sprung to the far corner, just over a minute remaining in the first period in a game the homestanding Engineers are leading by 1. A backhand feed found John Evans in front. It's taken to the line and over center. Deflected just over the defensive blue for the Engineers. Surtee will go find it once more as we're under a minute to go in the first period. Centering pass was trying to find Nikkanen, but he was unable to corral the feed. Geilander has it behind the cage. Near side centers, a good look in front. Nikkanen got the pass from John Beaton, but it wouldn't settle for him. He tried to kick it from skate to stick. Only one of the two made connection. The other way comes Young, feed to the near side rather, finds Young in front, backhand save made. The rebound cleared out as a Young-to-Young connection. Colton found Alex, who tried to send a backdoor pass in front. Didn't quite connect with Manderville. Now 10 seconds to go. The Raiders will bring it to center once more. Deflected into the corner. Agnew and Klee will defend. Agnew sends up for Klee. 3 seconds and 2, and we've reached the end of the first period at the Houston Fieldhouse in Troy. A back and forth opening 20. But a point shot through traffic coming from Nick Strong gave the Engineers their first lead of the season. Your thoughts on the opening 20 on both sides here at the Houston Fieldhouse?
I thought there was a pretty good pace to the period. I mean, considering these guys have only practiced up to this point, you know, it looks like they've got some good game legs underneath them, so conditioning was part of the preseason. And as would have it, you know, a harmless play, and it ends up being the first goal of the season for Strong.
Plenty more to come here from New York's Capital Region. Again, the score after 1 period of play, the RPI Engineers 1 and the Colgate Raiders 0. We'll be back with more after this. You're watching RPI Engineers Hockey on ESPN+.
RPI Hockey is back. Contact the Houston Fieldhouse box office at 518-276-6262 or box office at rpi.edu to watch your Engineers in action this season.
For the love of the game, the team, or for two, Recovery Sports Grill. At Recovery Sports Grill, you'll always have courtside seats to exciting live sports coverage. And for outstanding loyalty perks, join our Hall of Fame, Recovery Sports Grill, serving up smiles every season.
Hi, I'm Andy James at Rensselaer Honda, and this is my buddy Bo. Looking to sell your car or truck? We want to buy it. Are you looking for a great used car? We have a huge selection. That's why Rensselaer Honda has been your Honda dealer for 44 years.
We are boundary-pushing change agents. We do what it takes to make things happen together. It's our collaborative spirit that sparks creativity and pushes us to think beyond ourselves. We're scrappy and unabashedly enthusiastic about our passions and projects. We are hardwired for the havoc of change. We know it isn't easy, that theories can fail and world-changing can feel futile. But that's the calm before the brilliant storm. The breath you take before you break through. Small change comes from asking why. Changing the world comes from asking, why not? That's the question we ask everyone, from freshmen to faculty. It's the question that fuels us to find the next new. The question we ask you, why not change the world?
Welcome back inside the Houston Fieldhouse, everybody. We're through one period of play in the season opening scrimmage between the RPI Engineers and the Colgate Raiders. Through 20 minutes of play, the Engineers holding a 1-goal advantage as we get ready for period number 2. Alongside the coach, Dan Fritsch and Dan Ball, joining you here on ESPN Plus on a beautiful Saturday afternoon in the Capital Region. A good showing of fans here at the Houston Fieldhouse. It's an exciting time indeed, and you can feel the excitement. Who cares if it's a scrimmage? Who cares if it's the beginning of the season? Fans of this team are loyal, they're passionate, and they are here in droves to see this team today. I can hear you now. We're getting ready for period number 2. We apologize for the quick technical difficulties there, but the players are ready at center. We're ready to go for the second period of play. It's controlled by the Engineers, who will advance it up to the center line and in. It's Ryan Massey who led the forecheck there on the far side, but it's stolen away. Chipped around the corner just past the stick of Reed Irwin, who lays a hit sent back to the point. Heidemann a shot. That one's deflected, goes just wide. Played into the corner by Massey once more. On the near side, he loses it, but it sprays back to the point. Wrist shot coming, that's blocked. Battle ensues along the near side boards. A 1-0 lead for the Engineers. Shots in the first period were 10-6 in favor of the Colgate Raiders, but Jack Watson, netminder for the Engineers, made all 10 saves he was forced to make. The 1 goal coming from Nick Strom, the sophomore transfer from Western Michigan, coming at the 15:53 mark. Other than that, Carter Geilander was 5 for 6 in saves in the first 20. Brought into the corner by Young. He's met with a hit there by Klee, who now tries to spring that puck free. Taken the other way and advanced to center. That's where Jack Brackett can chip it off the boards in and deep. John Beaton takes the hit and advances it below the goal. Stepping in is Klee to try to keep the puck in. Puck is loose and sprays back out to center. Engineers in their home white jerseys with the red trim going from left to right across your screen here in period 2. While the Raiders wearing their road maroons with the white trim on the shoulders and by the waist. Kept it at the line. No, they did not, and it's sprayed into the offensive zone, but not before an offsides whistle and a stoppage. Just over a minute and a half into the second period. Where does your elite? We'll talk about that in a moment, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the jerseys themselves as TJ Walsh knocks that one to the ice. Chip to the line and over center as DePaulo knifes it to center. It's turned back over and McIsaac takes it the other way. Walsh off the skate to the stick. On the left side, chips to the corner, now brought in front of the goal. A backhander just high and wide of the cage. Agnew steps in at the point, but DePaulo's able to take it over center. Here is Ross Mitten over the blue line and sends it to the corner. He takes a pretty big hit, but getting the worst of that one was Ardenaz. He stepped up on the physical Ross Mitten and probably didn't get the better of the interchange as it's sent back to the point, kept in at the line, and sent it to the corner by Tommy Bergsland. Chipping it out over the line and to center. A nice play there by Evans. He was able to spray it past the skates of Reed Irwin, who was attempting to block it and keep it in. Taken to the line and sprayed into the corner there by Glassman. Kept in. No, they'll say it was not, and that's an offside call against the Raiders. And Mitten was the one who scored a game-winning goal in Game 3 of Colgate's playoff series against number 18 Cornell last year. Like Dan Fritsch mentioned earlier on in the broadcast, after beating Yale at home, sweeping them in the opening round, they upset Cornell on the road in 3 games. Game 3, a 2-1 win, and the game-winning goal coming from Ross Mitten. So he's undoubtedly a player that this team will look to for goal scoring here. Playing on the third line on the right wing, but you have to imagine that he'll get a fair share of ice time here in the early going as it's sprayed across to the far side corner, chipped off the boards there, but not out, and running back for it is Maschie. Smolinski sends it along the boards, and now a battle ensues to try to chip the puck out. Heideman's able to get it as far as center. A turnover at the line, good pressure by the Engineers, but it skitters away from Smolinski and all the way down into the defensive end. Picked up, and you could see that he was going for a bit of a Michigan move there. That was Matt Verboon who was going to give it a shot behind the net, but the puck knuckled on him just a little bit. A little bit of creativity there. You see a play now, Coach, where a player is going behind the net and have speed, and they're going towards that forehand, and every now and again you think, well, they may try it if they get the opportunity. That just seems to be where the game is going right now. There are levels to Michigan's, which is pretty incredible. Wrapped in front of the goal, save made by Geilander, rebound loose, and it's waved off. It appeared as though the puck did cross the line. You could see that Geilander was sweeping it out of the net, so the puck did go in. Now it's a matter of where the puck was and if there was a whistle. Alti Nikkanen, the junior out of Finland, was the one who was on the receiving end after John Beaton wrapped it in front of the cage. But a conversation between Dave Smith and the officials, it looks like this one will not stand indeed. Right. So we'll see where this one goes. The conversation between officials still going on, so they will not initiate a replay of any kind. It will stand as a save and a defensive zone face-off for the Raiders, who nearly concede their second goal of the afternoon. Face-off controlled by the Engineers at the left point. A pass did not connect. It goes harmlessly into the far corner. Bergsland for Irwin, and up the line and out. Here is Colton Young. He fires it off the skates of Hallbauer, but it rebounds only as far as Laurie Surdy, who will hit the brakes and start the breakout. A lot of pressure, though, coming from Colton Young. It's kept in at the line, but it knifes up and off the stick of Jacob Lee and falls harmlessly into the Raiders bench. The face-off will be in the defensive zone for the Engineers, and both teams will go for a change. 15:09 remaining in the second period, a 1-0 lead for the Engineers. Face-off to the left of Jack Watson, who has been very solid in this one in the early going. Face-off controlled by the Raiders. Hitting the brakes there was Anderson, who took a couple of hard strides in, then stopped and turned. Didn't like the look that he had. Off the skates of Mitten. It allows the Engineers to take it back the other way. Through center and chipped into the zone by Sutter Mazzotti, 6'6", and he's on the board in his first collegiate game, an assist on Nick Strom's opening goal back in period number 1. The assist from he and Henry Schreifels on the seeing eye shot from the left point by Strom that gave the Engineers a 1-0 lead more than 3/4 of the way through the opening period. Looking to center there, a pass coming from behind the cage from Evans didn't connect. It goes all the way down in on Watson. Interesting to note, and you have to imagine that it will come into play a number of times throughout the season with the different camera angles we have here at the Houston Fieldhouse. So it's a good rule to know for the viewing audience in the early going. After an offside call, a face-off in the neutral zone is controlled by the Raiders. Here is Garrett over the line on the near side, sends it on goal, but it's blocked by Agnew. As far as the point, it's sent into the corner by Liam Watson-Braun, who was one of the 3 defenders that was technically on the ice at the time the Engineers scored the goal. Watson-Braun was exiting the box after his penalty that he took. Centering feed coming, and a save made, or rather it went wide. Levi Glassman was the one who found a little bit of room, but now a turnover, and it's brought back the other way. A partial 2-on-1 if they can hurry. Carried in, a wrist shot and a glove save. Brendan Booty had room to take the shot. He tested the glove of Carter Geilander, and the netminder, the draft pick of the Detroit Red Wings, comes up on the winning side on that one. Carried into the corner, a shot by LaBelle, turned aside by Watson. Now, what's the sticking point for you with this process? Now you have to imagine there is at least a push to try to get some kind of equality on this, but again, you're absolutely right. Depending on the facility you play in or just the availability of the technology and the staffing, it's going to give teams an advantage over others. I guess that's just kind of inherently something that the teams have to accept with that.
Yeah, because when you watch the NHL, the coaches are standing on the bench looking down. They're not looking at their shoes. They're watching the video replay of what just happened, so it's immediate for them. And then they've got a guy that's going over the video in another room that has a connection earpiece to the bench. I'm not so sure how many programs in the ECAC have video guys. I know they some have a coach up top, but how many are connected to their video?
Brought back the other way with speed. A backhander goes wide of the cage. Good defense there by Kyle Hallbauer, but you're absolutely right. It's going to end up being the former versus the latter, where you are going to see some ECAC hockey coaches just looking down at their shoes in that situation versus something a little bit more technical. Sent below the goal. It was an icing for a moment, but it's waved off by the officials. 12 minutes to go, middle period here at the Houston Fieldhouse. A 1-0 lead for the Engineers over the Colgate Raiders here on ESPN+. Dan Ball, Dan Fridgen with you here. Delighted to join you here on this Saturday afternoon in the Capital Region, as we will for multiple weekdays and weekends for the upcoming season. Very happy to be doing that right here on ESPN+. Below the goal, the hit coming from Mazzotti, but the breakout starts nonetheless, and it's led back the other way by Alex Young. Young knifes through center, goes to the backhand, and a save made as Watson moved to his right and was able to shut down the speedy Alex Young, who was looking to tie the score and nearly got all the way to the net to do so.
Well, he did some abracadabra coming through the neutral zone, put a little shift as he approached the offensive blue line, and tried to go over the blocker of Watson. But you can see the skill level as he split the defenseman. Got a real good scoring opportunity for Colgate.
Alex Young, 3 assists in his 2 games against the Engineers last season. A member of the ECAC All-Rookie team as well in the 2020-21 campaign. As a shot coming there goes up above the net and wide. He was a member of the All-Rookie team in that COVID year and a Rookie of the Year finalist, as well as someone who got consideration for the Hobie Baker as a freshman, which is very hard to do. Here is Brendan Booty in the far corner, now sends for Maschie. A bit of a cycling play finds Booty in front, puck still loose. Both teams wrestling for control. Now it's the Raiders who get it. Bobby Metz all the way around the boards finds Mitten, who looks to center a pass, but a good defensive play on the back check there by Heidemann, who was able to knock that puck loose. Into the zone, good puck protection there from Beaton. He shoots, save made. Geilander finds the rebound before any members of the Engineers can find it themselves, but good speed and good puck protection there from John Beaton to get the shot on net.
And he had Strom, the defenseman, going to the net. Looked like he tried to put it off that far pad, trying to create a rebound that would go right out to Strom, but Geilander made the save.
Beaton will remain on the ice for the draw. A tie-up guts possession to Bergsland and the Raiders, who advance it over center. Now a 2-on-1 coming, led by Glassman, goes to the backhand, but a nice kick block there. Jack Agnew stuck the right leg out in front of that pass to make sure that the pass did not go any further. He's up on the offense here, but couldn't connect on the feed. That was coming through the middle from Nikkanen. Battle behind the cage. Irwin pulls it loose. Beaton's able to knock a man to the ice, but it's brought back the other way, this time 2-on-2 as Glassman leaves it. Shot coming, and it easily goes into the glove of Watson's Sebastian Tamburo, the one who ends up getting the shot, but not a whole lot of heat on it. That's an easy one for Watson.
Yeah, it looks like he just kind of flipped it towards the net. But if the goaltender has to play it, let's see if he can stop it.
Gives him at least something to think about, and forces an offensive zone face-off and gets a line change, which are also benefits on the side of the Raiders. Face-off to the left of Watson with 10 minutes, 20 seconds to go in the middle period. Attempt coming from Davies to send it off the glass and out, didn't work. Now he battles on the far side, right in front of the Raiders bench. Puck loose, knocked toward the line by Lee, but not out. Smolinski will have to go back and chase. He's met there by his fellow number 7, Simon LaBelle, chipped off the glass all the way down. This one will go for icing, as Garrett is the first one to win the race for the Raiders.
You say that he didn't get it off the glass and out. That was a set play. Both the wingers for RPI blew out of the zone, looking to corral that puck in the neutral zone. It just didn't get there.
Face-off once again in the defensive end, and you like to see in the early going, if you're a fan of the Engineers, the set plays, the design plays getting implemented early on. Even if they don't work, you see the players are thinking to try to execute them, which is half the battle half the time. As Davies is the first one to that one, he's met by Colton Young. Into the corner goes Lee. A battle ensues as Manderville tries to send it in front, hits the brakes. Now he's on the other side. Manderville leaves for the defender, Brandon, who was activating from the point. RPI had the chance to clear the zone, does not. Instead, it's sent to the point for Anderson. Backdoor feed, deflected on goal, saved by Watson. Rebound goes through the crease. A pass came behind the net and went through the wickets of Watson and out through the crease and wide. More pressure coming, a penalty coming against the Engineers, a stick infraction. To the bench goes Carter Geilander, coming off the boards is Young. A shot, that one gets blocked. Kept in, it looked like the Engineers had control. Instead, a shot coming from Brandon deflects to the corner and wide. 6-on-5 action here in the offensive end for the Raiders as they look to tie the game. Cross point, it's Anderson. Center of the line, a wrist shot, that one's blocked. Loose in front, controlled by the Engineers. Will have a stoppage and a penalty coming against RPI. So we only had one power play on either side, but now both teams have taken a penalty. We'll see the Raiders power play for the first time when we return here on ESPN Plus. The score at the halfway point of this one, the Engineers leading the Colgate Raiders 1-0. You're watching RPI Engineers hockey on ESPN Plus. We'll see the power play for the Raiders the first time this afternoon as the Engineers get control off the draw. It's flipped all the way and up and off the scoreboard. We'll get a stoppage. They'll have another face-off in the defensive end. Welcome back here to RPI Engineers Hockey on ESPN+. Dan Ball, Dan Pridgen with you. We bring you the Engineers and the Colgate Raiders, a game that's officially described as a scrimmage. At least if you check the Engineers website, that's what it says. It's a scrimmage today, an exhibition tomorrow, and then we'll get into a little bit more of the schedule in the coming moments. But in the meantime, the power play for the Raiders on the ice for the first time. Here is Alex Young on the near side. Back to the point, Anderson. Now to the far side, below the goal. Looking for a feed. Instead, he'll take it in front. No shot there. Sprayed to the point, but not out. It's Young once more, who carries to center. Here is Young. Now a through the legs chance for Colton Young on the near side. That one just missed. Alex Young once more. Here's Anderson, center of the line. One-timer, and they score! It was Matt Verboon on the far side. The Young brothers get the attention, but Verboon's the one that hits pay dirt, and the game is tied at 1.
Well, just before that, they had a real good chance where they were stick handling from the corner out in front, and the puck just jumped over the stick. But it looked like that just went right through Watson. He did have somebody on the doorstep for the rebound, but they didn't need the rebound because it went right through Watson.
Well, the game tied at 1 as the face-off at center following the goal. We believe it's from Verboon, though there was traffic in front of the goal. We'll confirm that for you in a moment. Verboon, the senior out of Calgary, 10 goals last year, as now the Raiders look to counter it. The pass goes just in front of the player that was coming, Ben Raymond. To the point, it's Mitten who backhands to the near corner. To the point, Mitten who was covering for the defender who had activated, deflected, and it's in the net. A seeing-eye shot that hit a skate of the RPI defender in front of the net and goes through the legs of Watson. 2 goals in 30 seconds exactly have the Raiders out in front by 1.
Well, that was Ryan McGuire that took that shot, and it just caught the inside shin pad of one of the defenders. And, of course, Watson going down to the butterfly went 5-hole on him on the redirection.
So 2 goals in exactly 30 seconds. The power play marker from Verboon, and then the shot that was just attempted to try to create some havoc, and that's exactly what it did there from McGuire. Now a 2-1 lead for the Raiders. They've come storming back, but now it's Brendan Booty behind the cage. Looks to center for Heidemann, and a shot. That one wouldn't go. Geilander stood tall against that far post. Sent to the point for Agnew, but it was on his backhand, so he's forced to just knife it into the corner. Heidemann on the far side. Puck knocked loose. It's chipped out to center, and the Engineers unable to generate any major offense following the goal that put the Raiders back in front. And over the line comes the defender, Ardenaz. He is turned aside right at the top of the face-off circle. 6:40 remaining here in the second period. A 2-1 lead for the Raiders on back-to-back goals from Verboon and then McGuire. Puck sprays loose. Davies had it but lost it. It's sent back to the point for Anderson. Fakes the shot. It's turned over, and now a break the other way. Here comes McIsaac with speed into the zone. McIsaac and a save made. Geilander kicks that one out with the right pad to keep his team in the lead.
Wow, that was a real good save by Geilander. I like the idea of McIsaac taking the shot while in stride. And we got a penalty here for elbowing.
So the near miss from McIsaac, who made a nice play on Anderson at his own defensive blue line. Though the Engineers don't tie the game on that, they'll get a chance on the power play. Owen Newhart, the freshman out of Savage, Minnesota, will sit for 2 for elbowing. And we'll see the Engineers power play for the second time today. They are 0 for 1. But were able to score roughly 25 seconds after the end of their power play on the shot from Strom. Agnew tries to keep it in at the line, but he's unable to do so. It's Agnew and Smolinski manning the point. Jacob Lee, who advances over the line into the near side corner. Sends it around the backboards. Now to the point. It's Agnew stepping in. Wrist shot. That one goes just wide. Rebound off the end boards in front. Both sides trying to find it. Now it sprays below the cage. Bergslund knocks a man down, trying to find some room. It gets through. Smolinski at the point, and now a race ensues. Colton Young on its spin move, gets some room. Here's Young in front, but his pass was just out of the reach. A lot of speed and a nice move. Arnaud Vachon was the one who was on the receiving end of that pass. If he was a right-hander, it might be a 3-1 game, but heck of a move there by Young to play off sides.
Yes, he's got some speed to him, and a Colton Young, I don't know why he just didn't shoot that puck, because you've got the guy coming on his forehand being a left shot. You got the rebound he would get if there was one, because Colton Young could bury them.
Face-off control by the Engineers in the neutral zone. So a couple of shots there on the power play for that second unit. Now the top unit back out for Dave Smith's group. Pass to the top of the slot, now back to the point for Heidemann. Sends low of the goal, but the puck knuckled on Massey. He's unable to corral. Booty sprays it below the goal. Massey tries to find it now. Very physical battle there behind the net. To the far side. Booty steps in, sends below the goal, looks to center. Too far ahead of John Beaton. Engineers remain in possession. Back to the point. Massey steps in and shoots. Blocker save. That one is up and into the netting. A really nice stop there by Geilander as Ryan Massey had the chance to tie this game.
Good puck movement by RPI there. They just missed clicking on a couple to the player in the slot, but good puck movement, and they're getting some shots.
Same unit will remain on the ice for the Engineers. The faceoff sprayed into the corner, sending all the way down is Daniel Panetta, who took the draw against John Beaton. Panetta, some pretty good family ties. In addition to his brother Jacob, who played for this program and now plays in the ECHL, he is cousins with Andrew Shaw. Played more than 500 NHL games and won 2 Stanley Cups with the Chicago Blackhawks. He's a freshman on this Raiders team. He's centering, but the Engineers have possession in their end. Stepping in is Booty. Looks to deflect on net. There did Heidemann. Backhand feed finds Massey all the way to the top of the point. Now to the left, it's Booty. Power play coming to a close. Beaton tries to send on goal. Back up top. Massey shoots, deflected wide. Geilander finds it. Belpedio sends it off the near boards. And a backhand goes all the way down. A race for the puck that is won by the Engineers. Strom beats his fellow 23, Owen Newharth, just out of the box. So the power play is done for the Engineers. They're now 0 for 2, but they will get an offensive zone faceoff with just under 4 minutes left in the second period.
Well, good pressure for our RPI on that power play. They had some good looks. Looks like the puck's just bouncing on them, and they're just not able to get that good, clean shot away.
Mazzotti will lean in for the draw for the Engineers, but it's controlled by the Raiders. Ben Raymond sends cross ice. It's carried in there by Newharth, who will chip it back behind goal and finish the forecheck as the rest of his Raiders get a change after the icing. Here is John Evans over the center line, looks to center a feed, but the pass was behind both of his line mates. Mazzotti, Evans, and Jack Brackett, the mixed bag line here from Dave Smith following the power play. Fired into the corner and all the way around. It's at the line, but kept in by Mazzotti. Chipped down low, possible 2-on-1 if they can hurry. Centering feed, too far for Evans. Klee will take it off the point. His shot goes wide. Brackett had it for the moment behind Geilander's net, but he was unable to corral, and now Colgate will take it the other way. At the line and in, Watson directs his defenders as Klee goes 1-on-1 physically into the boards. Raymond knocked it loose for the moment, but here comes McIsaac. McIsaac for Mazzotti and back, and now it's McIsaac dropping a pass back, shot by Walsh off the side of the cage. A lot of fire on that one, and he might have had a little bit of room if it was on goal, but Walsh instead will go in A-frame 1-on-1 into the corner. Metz starts the breakout for the Raiders across the center line. Good deflection there by Davies, who steps up once more, knocks it away from Alex Young. 2.5 to go, second period. 2-1 lead for the Raiders on 2 goals within exactly 30 seconds of one another after the Engineers had established a 1-0 lead. A delayed offsides, though I believe McIsaac doesn't know it. He won't get a chance to touch the puck anyways, as Young will spray it into the corner boards. Here is Smolinski getting a Good look here from Dave Smith in the early going. The pass goes off the far side boards too far, and it'll instead be an icing against the Engineers. They'll have a defensive zone draw with 2 minutes and 10 seconds to go. A lot of new players getting some looks here from this coaching staff. 10 newcomers to this program, including 7 freshmen, and it makes sense when you look at the fact that 8 of the top 10 scorers and 9 of 12 left the program last year. A number of them graduating, a few others transferring out. Simon Kelberg, Zach Dubinsky among them, but you look at those numbers, those 8 players accounted for 191 total points last year on offense for the Engineers, who were already struggling to score goals at certain points. As a shot coming from the far side turned aside by Watson, he's able to corral his own rebound.
And even at that, they're a veteran team. They've got, I think I counted 15 juniors and seniors on the team, 10 juniors, 3 seniors, and 2 graduate students. Then you look at Colgate's roster, they've got 13 juniors and seniors. So both these teams have some veteran players behind them.
Face-off control by the Raiders, but it's chipped out to center, and a conversation that Dave Smith had before the season began, talking about, though there's a high presence of juniors and seniors, a number of players based on eligibility due to red shirts, the COVID year, whatever it may be, will still be with this program if they so choose after this year. So it's a year where you can kind of build onto something for at least this year and the next, which I have to imagine is exciting for Engineers fans.
Yeah, no question. I mean, it's a process, and you start off this year and then you continually build, and hopefully you get everybody back next year. I think there's only one that loses their eligibility, so I mean, yeah, you could build for some good things to happen down the road while keeping goals and things intact for this year.
And it's a very tough balance to strike. I mean, I can only imagine trying to build for the present and build for the future. It's all the process of creating a culture and creating consistency, and that's something we'll talk about probably ad nauseum by the end of the season, but for now it's still fresh. Regardless, chipped into the corner as we're under a minute to go in the second period. Engineers trailing the Raiders by a goal. Geilander was able to stop that one from going the rest of the way behind his cage. Chipped into the corner. Ben Raymond will win the race and negate the icing, but his centering pass went all the way back out to center. Surtees able to knock it free. Chipped off the boards, but not out. Kept in by Raymond. No, he did not. Anderson advances to the blue line and the rest of the way in. 17 seconds to go. Here is Beaton in the near side corner in his own end. The Engineers trying to get a little bit of something started in the final moments, but it only goes as far as the captain of this Raiders team, Pearson Brandon, who sprays it the rest of the way. 3 seconds and 2, and we have played 2 periods here at the Houston Fieldhouse in Troy, New York, and New York State's capital region. The score after 40 minutes of play, the Raiders 2 and the RPI Engineers 1. Did you notice any changes on either side from these two teams from period 1 to what you see now?
Not really. They've been playing a pretty solid game. Difference right now is that Colgate scores on the power play and then gets another quick one on a deflection right after that. So, 30 seconds, 2 goals in 30 seconds, and that's the difference right now for Colgate over RPI.
We'll step away for a few moments, grab a snack, get a drink, and join us once more for the final period here at the Houston Fieldhouse. The score again, the Raiders 2 and the Engineers 1. Back with more after this. You're watching RPI Engineers Hockey on ESPN+. 2 periods down and 1 to go at the Houston Fieldhouse in Troy, New York, in the center of the Capital Region. It's RPI Hockey here on ESPN Plus. The score after 40 minutes of play, the Colgate Raiders, the visitors, leading the Engineers by a score of 2-1. Alongside the coach, Dan Fridgen, I'm Dan Ball. Thanks so much for making us a part of your Saturday afternoon here on ESPN Plus. 40 minutes in the books. Coach, you've liked the style of play, you've liked the physicality and other things so far through 40 minutes. Is there anything else you'd like to see from either side of the final 20?
Geez, I think if you're Colgate, you're up by 1. You can't rest on that. So you've got to do what got you in this position in the first place. And if you're RPI, hey, you got a couple of shots, and who knows what happens. So I think if you're RPI, you got to be taking shots on goal and getting the puck deep and then looking to forecheck and create some offensive opportunities.
A quick whistle because the Engineers were offsides. The opening face-off, Brendan Booty, Alex DePaulo, as it was in the opening 20. This time the Engineers are the ones that control. Kyle Hallbauer advanced it over the line, but the Engineers were offsides. Same 2 netminders in the creases here as we begin the third period, is knifing through and trying to get a pass in front. That one didn't connect, and now it's Booty over the line. He'll advance it into the corner. Carter Geilander to this point for the Raiders, 11 of 12 in his pursuit of a victory. Jack Watson for the Engineers, 16 of 18 after a perfect 10 of 10 in the opening 20. 2 goals in, we check the number now, 31 seconds officially for the Raiders in the second period, have them up by a score of 2-1. Matt Verboon on the power play, Ryan McGuire at even strength. Here is beaten below the goal center, is looking for a pass in front to Brackett. That one didn't connect, and then Mason Klee was unable to corral at the point. Backhander from Strom only goes as far as Young, who advances below the goal. Blocked to the corner there by Strom, but the Young brother is able to get possession back. It's Alex Colton and then Ethan Manderville, the lucky third party on this line, played off the back of the net by Alex Young. Sent to his brother. Shot goes over the top of the cage from the face-off dot to the right of Watson. Manderville allows the puck to go through. Mason Klee finds it, though, and he'll be the one who advances it over the line. Klee had it for the moment, but lost it. It's hacked off of the near boards and into the defensive end. The Raiders will complete a change. McIsaac bodies it down over the line. He gets the pass back from Klee, advances it to center and into the offensive end. Jacob Lee, the one giving chase 1v2. It sprays to the far side corner. Walsh knocked it down for the moment. He pulls it off the boards. The puck is rebounding to the middle. Lee sends it on net, stick aside by Geilander to the corner. A backhand feed, a bit of a dangerous one, but it allows the Raiders to start their breakout looking for a centering pass. He had Raymond for the moment, did Ross Mitten, but he was unable to corral that pass, at least long enough to get what would have been a step around Jack Agnew.
Yeah, nice play by Mitten there. He just couldn't connect with him and couldn't corral it.
Pass from Agnew doesn't connect with an Engineer. Instead, it's the Raiders who advance it back over the line. We're 2.5 minutes into the third period here at the Houston Fieldhouse, a 2-1 lead. But a misplay there by Watson, nearly stolen by the Raiders for a chance. But instead, now a battle ensues, 1v2. A big hit there as Agnew and Mitten got crossed up. Ross Mitten not afraid to get in on the physicality. You mentioned it earlier that he's going to continue to be a power forward on this team, and he'll be a problem for defenders if he's allowed to get into that physical game.
Yeah, no question, because he certainly has a good balance as far as being on his 2 feet are concerned. It's tough to knock off.
Speaking of tough to knock off the puck, 6'6" Sutter Mazzati on the ice right now. Evans sends below the goal as the Engineers look to try to get a chance. Evans is knifed down. Nick Anderson, the guilty party for the Raiders, and the Engineers will get a power play in the early going here in the third period and get a good chance to tie this game back at 2.
Well, he just got his stick, I think it was underneath his arm, spun him around, and based on where the referee was positioned.
It's about as bad of a spot as you can be in when that happens, and that's exactly what was the case. Nick Anderson will sit for 2. He hauled down John Evans. The power play on the ice here for the Engineers, who are 0 for 2. Shot by Booty and a save made. Was looking for a moving screen was Brendan Booty, but instead it is swallowed up by the chest of Carter Geilander. .323 the time. The infraction, a hook against Anderson, as the faceoff is won by the Raiders and cleared all the way down. Laurie Surdy is the one who advances it from behind the net through the neutral zone. Here comes Beaton centering a feed that goes off the stick and then the head of Austin Heidemann. Nobody able to find it, but Surdy keeps it in at the line. Across for Ryan Massey, who's manning that bumper roll on the far side boards, but he turns it over. A clearing attempt ends up being a pass to Young, but the Finnish defender Surdy is able to knife it away from Colton Young. He'll hit the brakes once more. The Engineers will change out power play units. The top unit off, and now the full of youth and exuberance second unit will get an opportunity here with exactly 1 minute to go on the penalty against Anderson.
You missed that one when Colton Young was going to the bench for Colgate. He knocked the stick out of Massey's hand. Got to hold on to that stick there, Mr. Massey.
Here is Walsh, sends below the goal, looking to center, but a good stick lift there by Mitten, who was trying to defend Henry Scheifels. He did so successfully, and it leads to a clear. 30 seconds remaining on the power play for the Engineers, who are 0 for 2 on the man advantage to this point, and they'll have to regroup once more as it's advanced over the line and then sent all the way down.
I think he geeked himself out there with that play at the offensive blue line.
You can see that the Engineers, once they got it into the offensive zone, they had a couple of set plays they were trying to go to, but it's been the gaining the zone that's been a little bit of an issue for both units. And speaking of, it's sent to the line, but kept in this time by Smolinski. Walsh off the left boards, below the goal, back for Walsh, shot and a save made. Geilander will swallow that one up along the near side post. The power play over, and an 0 for 3 mark to begin things on the man advantage this season for the Engineers, but they'll get an offensive zone draw. Just over 5 minutes gone by here in the third.
I like Walsh's thought there to take that shot, but really the goaltender, he's right out top of his crease. It's going to be tough to put one in from that position.
Walsh in his second season with the Engineers, a transfer from Northeastern, native of Shrewsbury, Massachusetts. Highly touted prospect, had 5 points as a freshman, just 3 in 15 games as a sophomore, then wanted a bit of change of scenery, it would appear, and now looking to become a big contributor here for the Engineers. Advanced over the line, brought in near side, backhand pass coming from Vachon, didn't connect, and now the Engineers come back the other way. Brackett feet ahead for Mazzotti, far side, who goes to the backhand, looks to center. Brackett was hauled down. Geilander got the worst of all of that. There was a hand up already. It's going to be an interference call, I believe, against the Raiders defender who was trailing Brackett. But all the while, Carter Geilander got upended by his own defender. Just an absolute mess in front of the net for the Raiders, and I believe that may actually be the Engineers who are going to the box. We'll take a look, but a very wild play there.
I think it's Arnaud Vachon.
I like that one. It will be Vachon indeed, so trust your instinct, Dan Ball. That is a power play for the Engineers. It'll be their 4th opportunity, 2nd so far here in this third period. Vachon will go for 2 for interference. He was the back checker that was trailing Brackett. It was Sutter Mazzotti who was the one who had it on the right side. He sent a backhand pass through the crease. Didn't connect, but it allows the Engineers to get things going on their 4th power play. A unit last season, like we mentioned, that clicked at a 20.3% mark. We'll get another opportunity as Surdy sends to the left side here for Booty. Heidemann advances to the top, a wrist shot. That one hit his own man in front. John Beaton was the one, he took the brunt of that one. You can see he's still doubled over a bit, but he'll remain out with his unit as Heidemann has it at the top of the zone. Down low, a shot coming from Massey, he put it over the top of the cage. Here is Booty all the way across for Massey once more. Surdy, wrist shot through a screen, he scores! Well, it's a good thing John Beaton remained on the ice. He He got a tip of the shot from Laurie Surdy right at the top of the crease. And the game is tied at 2. That's a power play goal for the Engineers.
And John Beatty's showing his hand-eye coordination on that one, getting the tip on it. It going by the goaltender from Colgate, Geilander, and RPI is even the score up at 2 apiece here.
The goal coming from Beaton, the primary assist will go to Laurie Surdy, and I believe Brendan Booty will be the one who gets the secondary assist. A power play goal for the Engineers has brought the crowd to their feet and tied the score at 2. The Raiders, meanwhile, looking to try to do something about it, but instead it's brought 2-on-2 back the other way. Saucer pass finds Walsh on the left side, hitting the brakes, finding the trailer coming Lee. Instead it's brought back the other way by the Raiders. Here comes Newharth on the left side, a wrist shot blocked off the instep of Surdy, who was marking him 1v1. 2 aside they battle, just under 13 minutes remaining in the third period as the Engineers on their 4th power play opportunity of the afternoon have tied the score at 2. Space pass off the end boards trying to find McIsaac. Garrett holds him up, but McIsaac able to get a backhander amidst a lot of pressure coming there from Garrett. Geilander was forced to make the save. A wrist shot coming from the point from Klee into the chest and the catching glove of Geilander, and a stoppage of play, an offensive zone face-off coming for the Engineers.
RPI's look to pick up some life here off that power play goal.
Evans will lean in opposite Alex Young for the face-off to the left of Geilander. Puck skitters towards the net. Geilander will send it off of the far side boards. All the way around, too far in front for Brandon. Ends up being in possession for the Engineers. Strom tried to send it to the far side corner. A loose puck that gets all the way to the center line. Strom will get another chance, and this time he finds Mazzotti centering feed, looking for Evans. He takes a big hit. Pearson Brandon was waiting for him, and he knocked him to the ice, but the Engineers get possession back. A shot on goal, save made. Rebound controlled by Brandon once more and advanced for Young. Flip pass, that one's blocked down nicely by Klee. Long pass ahead for Brackett, who's at the end of a long shift. He takes a hit from Brandon, and the latter of the two end up winning the battle. Colton Young had it for the moment and lost it. He had Austin Heidemann for the moment in the middle. Here the announcement of the game-tying goal for the Engineers is now it's Young who hits the brakes and takes a big hit, but the hit is going to be whistled for a penalty. Jack Agnew will be the one. It's going to be a boarding call that goes against Agnew off of that hit on the far side. And now the Raiders will get back on the ice with their power play, which finds itself 1 for 2.
Yeah, it looked like Agnew got a little bit into his numbers on the back, and he'll sit for 2.
I have to say, a good physical play there by Agnew. When I saw the hit, I didn't have a problem with it originally, but that's why I'm not wearing the stripes. Anyways, a power play for the Raiders. They begin in their offensive end on the left side, looking to center. A shot goes wide of the net. Shot coming from DePaolo on the feed from Glasman. Vachon will track down Smolinski, who sends it off the boards but not out. A space pass after he was feeling pressure was Glassman. Now it sends back laterally along the board. Smolinski will take care of it, but instead of getting it into the defensive end, he sends it up and into the bench, and we'll have a stoppage of play. So Agnew sits for 2 for boarding, and with 11:11 remaining here in period 3, a face-off just outside the defensive zone for the Engineers. The announcement coming, so why not follow up? Don't forget to join us tomorrow at 3 o'clock Eastern right here on ESPN Plus. Dan Fridgen and I will have the call as the Engineers finish up their 2 games in as many day window here this weekend with a game against the University of Toronto. The Varsity Blues are in town. Hope you'll join us. Should be a fun one as RPI continues to ready themselves for the 2022-23 regular season campaign as it's broken up at the line, a one-on-one race that's won by Anderson as Jacob Lee was giving him a lot of gripe. Anderson will skate it slowly through center over the line, and will find the trailer. Coming back through it is Young. Young, a nice shift move there. A shot from a tough angle is turned aside there by Watson. And then Young ends up on his backside. Some shoving from both sides in front of Watson's net brings the student section to their feet, directly behind the RPI Engineers bench. You have to like the way that the defending was, at least, and that's not the first time that we've seen it either, being able to keep a fast player like that to the outside, force a shot from that area. If you can do that every time, you're probably in great shape.
Yes, definitely. I mean, he's got some jam to his movement as well. I mean, he can. You don't want to be looking at the puck when he's coming in on you.
Face-off won by the Engineers and cleared the rest of the way. 51 seconds remaining on the penalty against Jack Agnew. Just over 10 minutes remaining in the third period in a game that's tied at 2. Here is Mitten gaining speed through center. He brings it below the goal. Met one-on-one there by Surdy, and he's able to force a turnover. Is the latter, but a turnover instead at the top of the line. A shot is turned aside. A knuckling shot coming from DePaulo, sent back to the point, whiffed, but here's DePaulo once more. Centers, and they score! Well, the Engineers had a chance to clear the line. They were unable to do so, and a pass from DePaulo finds the captain, Vachon, and the Raiders are back in front.
Well, I think that was kind of a broken play. The guy that was going to be taking a one-timer somewhat whiffed on it, and it corralled over to DePaulo, and he was able to get it over to Vachon for the tally. He just had to redirect it, stick on the ice, redirection past Watson.
Second power play goal of the afternoon for the Raiders. It was Vachon from DePaulo. Watson gave it every bit of his frame to try to get his right pad on that backdoor feed, but a really nice one there from DePaulo, who had a pretty strong power play in general. And now the Engineers are playing from behind once more. Brought in over the line by LaBelle, who has a lot of speed. He advances below the goal. Here is Panetta, who hits the break, sends back to the point for Bergsland. And Bergsland will advance it below the goal. LaBelle picks up the stick of Smolinski, allowing his line mate to try to find that one, but Smolinski is able to rebound. Big hit there at the top of the offensive end. Booty was the one who took the brunt of that hit from Bergsland, but he was able to get the puck over the line. So a job well done indeed. Near side, it is Heidemann sending it towards goal, knocked away there by Geilander through a little bit of traffic. Can't blame Heidemann for giving that shot a try, as it's advanced to the center line and over by Reed Irwin. He'll spray it into the corner. A backhand feed finds Walsh, who will have to try once more. His pass is in the skates of Dylan Davies. Now into the corner, it's Raymond to the point. Irwin quickly for Metz, wrist shot. That one goes wide. Good on Metz to get something off, as he had a lot of pressure in front of him. Here is McIsaac, who sends a pass towards Lee, and he'll put the puck into the corner. The Raiders trying to stay in their defensive end for as least amount of time as possible, and it may work here as McGuire shoots and a save made. Rebound loose, and Metz couldn't find the open cage. He did the first part in opening up that near side, but the puck just rolled up on him a bit. A near miss there as the Engineers survive, but the Raiders still with possession in the offensive end before McIsaac is able to slow things down just a bit. A near miss. You have to like that awareness there to be able to open up a chance for you if you're Bobby Metz, but just wouldn't sit for him with that puck.
No question. And he's jumping up, and you know, he just tried to take it from backhand to forehand, and when he did it, that's when the puck jumped over his stick. Otherwise, the net was wide open.
An errant pass there wouldn't sit for Colton Young. It will allow the Engineers to take a breath. It's an icing against the Raiders. We have 7 minutes and 39 seconds left in the third period. An offensive zone draw. Goodness gracious. To the right of Carter Geilander, and the draw will be taken by Sutter Mazzotti. Face-off controlled in the defensive end by the Raiders. Chipped out to center. Klee nearly loses it. He's got a lot of pressure from Colton Young, but he's able to survive it for the time being. Mazzotti all the way across the neutral zone. A heads-up feed finds Evans, who dropped for the trailing Trifles. He wheels his way around the zone. Klee tries to get it through. His shot was blocked, and instead it's advanced off the glass and in deep. Irwin to the line and deflected in. 7 minutes remaining in the third. The Raiders a 1-goal advantage here at the Houston Fieldhouse thanks to a power play goal. The second of the afternoon, as both man advantages getting in on the fun here in the first game of the season. Nearly a chance to spring a man free. That would have been Jack Brackett, but instead the Raiders are able to get it deep once more. Chipped out to center. A good defensive play made by Pearson Brandon. You understand why he wears the C when he makes a play like that on a rolling puck. Advance to the line and in. A shot from a tough angle goes off the side of the cage. Here's freshman Nick Ardenaz, who chips it up to the line. It will skitter its way to center, and Anderson on the receiving end for the Raiders. Back and forth action, a lot of neutral zone play in the last few moments. If you're the Engineers, you'd rather it any other way, but if you're the Raiders, it seems like they're content with getting the puck in deep, not taking any real chances, as Heideman's able to pick it up at center. Wrist shot coming from the top of the offensive zone there by Maschie. It went in and out of the glove of Carter Geilander, but the whistle blows before the Engineers get a chance to find any rebound. We'll step aside with 5 minutes and 53 seconds to go in the third period. Counting down the moments till what should be a very exciting conclusion to this one. The Raiders leading the Engineers 3-2. You're watching RPI Engineers Hockey on ESPN+. At the Houston Fieldhouse, 5 minutes 53 seconds to go in period number 3 of what's been an exciting game, scrimmage or not, between the RPI Engineers and the visiting Colgate Raiders. That sees the visiting Raiders ahead by a goal, the score being 3-2. Alongside Dan Pridge and Dan Ball with you here on ESPN Plus. Delighted to be with you here for the season opening game and season opening weekend for this Engineers program. They will play once again tomorrow in a game that has the exhibition designation. They'll play against the University of Toronto beginning at 3 p.m. Join us at the Houston Fieldhouse if you get the opportunity, but otherwise we hope you'll tune in. Put us on the screen next to football, but keep football on silent and listen to us here on ESPN+. Broken up there by Davies. He takes the brunt of the collision, and after all is said and done, Brendan Booty advances it over the blue line. We'll have an offside.
And if you couldn't make the game today and you're coming tomorrow, bring your skates. I think there's skate with the Engineers after the game tomorrow.
Oh, is there really?
Yeah.
I missed that in my pregame notes.
You gonna bring your wheels?
I might have to. I'm not sure if I brought them with me on this trip, which is a sin in its own right. But anyways, it should be a fun event, so make sure you join us for that reason. RPIathletics.com for tickets and information. Advanced over the line and in deep. Coming from Hallbauer, the shot from Surdy from the left point is kicked aside there by Geilander. Puck knocked loose for the moment. It looked like McIsaac might get a chance. Instead, Surdy will backhand it off the far side board. There's TJ Walsh, who picks it free for the moment. Not a whole ton of room to move for the Engineers after the TV timeout. Puck knocks to the point. Surdy again deflected on goal and a blocker save. Sticking out the blocker and the stick there was Geilander to knock that one free as the puck is played up and into the bench, and we'll have a face-off in the offensive zone for the Engineers. 4:50 to go in period 3.
It looked like Walsh wanted to tip that through his legs to his forehand, and great play by Geilander, not going for that and sticking with playing the puck.
19 points in 36 games last season for TJ Walsh. Just 4 of those points goals, but you can tell by moves like that that he's often not too far away. Off the skates of Mazzotti, who sends it cross for Mason Klee, who might have a little room to move here. He brings it into the zone, but a sweeping poke check there by Young knocks it behind the cage. Here is Brandon advancing for Alex Young, who finds a little room for himself, but good coverage there by the Engineers near their offensive blue line. They force a regroup. Brandon finds Alex Young, who has a man coming late. It's Manderville to the backhand, and he scores! Well, it seemed for a moment like the Engineers might have this Raiders team pinned, but a couple of quick passes and Ethan Manderville is able to connect, and the Raiders extend their lead to 2. It's now 4-2.
Well, that's your typical Colgate goal. I mean, they rope-a-dope you on one side, and it looks like RPI defense was focusing on that side where Colton was, and you had Manderville going to the net on the back door. He's on his forehand, so it was an easy play to fake the shot, go to the deke, and they're up by 2 with 4:10 left.
From watching this team for just over 55 minutes, if you are that right wing on the line with Colton and Alex Young, you're going to need to have that finishing touch, and that's exactly what Manderville shows there. So the lead extended for 2 for the Raiders, and now the Engineers are going to have some work to do in the final 4 minutes. Agnew advances ahead, sent across from Heidemann over to Maschie into the zone, draws a defender, nice toe drag, but coming across and blocking that one was Vachon. Maschie did the vast majority of the work to find a shooting lane, but it was the trailing forward that breaks it up and allows the Raiders to take it back the other way. Ardenaz knifes it down, but Verboen's able to find it coming off the bench and shooting. And a save made as Levi Glassman was the one who came off and got the shot. Watson handles that one. The goal coming from Ethan Manderville, the senior out of Ottawa, Ontario. 4 goals and 16 points for he last season. Jumped way above his previous career high of 6, which he set as a sophomore. No points as a first year for Manderville, and it appears to be in a position to put up some major points here in his senior season. As a shot coming from the right point and Tony Stark, but it's swallowed up by Watson once more.
It'll be interesting to see how aggressive Coach Smith wants to be here in this first scrimmage, down by 2 with just a little over 3 minutes left.
Well, now I have to ask, because you and I are relatively new to one another, what is your philosophy on pulling the goalie? When to do it, where to do it, how do you usually handle it?
You know what, it's basically, you kind of go by the feel of the play on the ice, and whether or not your team is in a mode where they start to dominate. When they start to dominate, that is generally a sign that you want to get that goaltender out. If they're being forced and pinned in their own end, there's not much you can do from the coach's perspective.
Ripped along the boards to the line, Glassman unable to get it out. It's a very interesting philosophy there, where it's not quite as much time dependent as it is feel of the game, as Agnew knifes that one out of midair. But it's stolen and taken the other way, a shot turned aside. The Engineers lost control of that one for just a moment. It allows the Raiders to set up in their offensive end. Now just over 2.5 minutes to go. Wrist shot from the point. Brandon shot deflected. Never got to the net. Agnew is behind his own cage. Pass goes only as far as Evans, but Brandon's able to step up at the line, and it's sent all the way down. And right now, RPI unable to get enough possession to justify pulling Watson, but you can see he's keeping an eye at his own bench. Here is Jack Brackett over the line. He shoots off the side of the cage. Beaton had it for the moment. He finds it once more, sends it on net. That one's blocked, and here comes Jack Watson to the bench for the extra attacker. The Engineers will play 6-on-5, but it may not matter. They're a good defensive play coming back by McIsaac. It looked like for the moment Ben Raymond had stripped the defense, and he almost does it again, but Laurie Surtee this time is back to control. Smolinski goes across the offensive end into the neutral zone. Beaton had it for the moment, but lost it. McIsaac will give it back to the defensive line so they can try their entry once more. Surtee gains the line. He'll chip it into the near corner. 6-on-5 they play now with 1.5 minutes remaining in the third period. Surtee advances, but it only finds a pile of bodies on the near side boards. Booty will chip it into the corner. He'll take a hit from Bergsland, and the two will battle and try to find the puck. Irwin had it for the moment and lost it. Chipped off the glass and boards and out to center as we tick towards a minute to go in the third period, with the Engineers trailing the Raiders by a score of 4-2.
Colgate doing a real good job defensively, just keeping everything to the outside. They're not making any fancy plays, just get a hold of it and out to the neutral zone.
Heidemann to the point for Agnew, now goes across, a wrist shot coming, deflected and a save made. Geilander swallows that one up. The shot came from the captain of this team, that's Kyle Hallbauer. But Carter Geilander was equal to that one and will have a timeout taken on the ice. The Engineers will take their timeout, which now you look back, in hindsight being 2020, no replay initiated. So we talked about the rules, so you do have your timeout. You're down by 2, you take a timeout, 45 seconds remaining. What's the conversation here on the bench?
Well, basically it's, hey, drawing up a play, but whatever play you draw up has to be executed, which starts with winning the draw.
Right.
Otherwise, everything else will break down. So it's obviously they're going to have a set play that they're going to want the shot coming from, and they're going to want traffic in front of the net. So everybody's going to know what role they have, and then after that set play, if it's broken up, then you're on with just trying to score a goal. But it all starts with the faceoff.
The faceoff will be to the left of Carter Geilander. Again, make sure you join us tomorrow afternoon at 3 p.m. either at the Houston Fieldhouse or on ESPN Plus, as this Engineers team will play an exhibition match against the University of Toronto. Then they're back in action once more next weekend. It's homecoming and reunion weekend here at RPI. They will play Mercyhurst on Friday and Saturday evening, both games at 7 p.m. We hope you'll join us there as well. Face-off controlled by the Raiders. The backhander goes wide of the net. Sprinting and getting the icing call there is Hallbauer. So step number 1 of the Dan Fridgen plan for success was unsuccessful, but the Engineers will get another chance, this time on the other side of the netminder Geilander.
And if you're Colton Young, I understand you want to get a goal, but a backhand from just inside the blue line, I don't know.
Ripped around the boards by Brandon, chipped to the line, kept in by Heidemann. His shot gets blocked, but it's controlled on the back end by Berglund. Loose behind the cage, centering feed, and that one was turned aside. Might have caught iron. If not, it caught Geilander, and the whistle will blow. The net was knocked off. A play that was started quickly from behind the net there by Massey nearly led to the third goal for the Engineers.
Yeah, I think that was a broken play, too, because it went off of Colgate had possession of it, and they tried to make a pass. It went off one of their skates, and RPI ended up with it behind the net.
New unit takes the ice here for the Engineers, led by Jacob Lee. The faceoff won by the Engineers. Surtee has it on the left point, sends it through a screen, deflected in front of the net, and the net has come off the moorings once more. That puck was deflected at the top of the slot and was rolling by the net anyways, but a few hands in the air, few raised eyebrows at a play that seemed pretty harmless, and then there goes the net.
Yeah, I think what's happened is that the net's starting to come off a little easier now. So it's a good thing there's only 17 seconds left in the game, because no matter what kind of pressure Geilander puts on either post, they're coming off the moorings.
Well, for now it appears that the net is in position. We have just under 17 seconds to go. Lee will take the draw once more. Opposite Alex Young, this time it's the Raiders' Young who wins the draw. Deflected at the line there by Smolinski, but he'll have to go back and regroup. One final rush here for the Engineers, who will drop their season opening scrimmage as Schreifel sends it past the net and wide. 3 seconds and 2, and that will do it from the Houston Fieldhouse. The season opening scrimmage for the Engineers leads to a hard luck loss at the hands of the Colgate Raiders. The final score, the Raiders beat the Engineers by a score of 4-2. And as we depart here on ESPN Plus, Dan Fridgen, a lot of back and forth action, some very good things on both sides. What did you take away from this Engineers team in game number 1? Did you like what you see? And tell us a little bit about where you are right now.
Yeah, I think that the one thing, if you're Coach Smith, the one thing you want to up is your ability to score goals. And your offensive concepts. I thought that, not to take any credit away from Colgate, they played very well defensively, but just to generate more offense, especially in a situation where, you tie it up 2-2 and you're just looking for that go-ahead goal. Colgate was opportunistic, and they happened to find a couple and win the hockey game.
The win in net to Carter Geilander, who makes 25 saves on 27 shots on net. The loss to Jack Watson, who played well, but surrenders 4 goals. He makes 20 saves in the losing effort. Well, it won't take long for the Engineers to get back at it. They are back on the ice tomorrow afternoon at 3 p.m. right here at the Houston Fieldhouse. They'll take on the University of Toronto Varsity Blues in an exhibition match to get ready for their season opener, non-conference of course, next Friday against Mercyhurst. And if you can't make it to the Houston Fieldhouse tomorrow afternoon again, we hope you'll join us here on ESPN+. Again, the final score for the final time, the RPI Engineers dropped their season opening scrimmage to the Colgate Raiders by a final score of 4-2. For my partner Dan Fridge and Dan Ball saying good afternoon, you've been listening to RPI Engineers Hockey on ESPN+.